Jen here with my crochet basket. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are continuing our beginner tutorial series. We are going to be working on a crochet amigurumi heart. I thought this was like the perfect beginner project. There's no sewing. We're going to cover all of the basics, including connecting two pieces. So it's going to be a really simple but educational way to get started. And hey, you can share your little heart and show some love to somebody in your life. I thought that would be a pretty fun first project for amigurumi. Okay, so let me go over everything that we need in order to get started. I am using a number 4 worsted weight yarn or medium weight yarn. And to complement that, I am using a 3.5 millimeter hook. You will also need a tapestry needle to weave in our ends. We will be using stitch markers to mark all of our rounds, and of course a pair of scissors. And last but definitely not least, you will need some stuffing to give our heart some life. All right, now we've got everything we need, we can get started. So just so that you all are aware, I absolutely love this in the red. That was originally what I wanted, so that's what I made it with. But I realized it doesn't show up very well on camera, so I am going to be working it up in this green, which is a lot brighter and a lot easier for you to see the stitches as we go. However, feel free to use any color that you would like. This particular size, by the way, would do really cool on a keychain or like an accessory on a bag. You could very easily buy some hooks and loops or metal rings to be able to attach that with. And this would hold up really well for that kind of stuff. How we are going to be working this piece so that you understand how the progress is going to go. So we're actually going to be starting, we're going to make one of the tops of the hearts first. We're going to disconnect our yarn. We'll start on the second and we'll continue on that one until we finish our heart. And this project does work up relatively quick, so let's go ahead and get started. So to begin this project, we are going to be working 6 single crochet into a magic loop. So you can see the instructions written on screen so that you can learn to read my patterns. No promises for anybody else's, but this is how I tend to write all of mine. So in order to make a magic loop, we're actually going to start making a slip knot. We just won't close the loop, okay? So I'm going to lay my tail going across my hand, and I'm going to grab the working yarn. I'm going to wrap it around my first 2 fingers, making sure that it crosses over from front to back. And I'm going to insert the hook under the first loop and grab that second one. Now, this is where we need to hold everything pretty still. So I'm going to put a finger here on this strand and gently slide out these 2 fingers. And I'm just going to hold it where they cross over so that we don't lose that actual knot. So we do need to secure this. So I am going to take my working yarn. I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pull it through my loop, and I'm going to tighten that down. Not super tight. It doesn't need to be super tense, but just enough to lock everything in place. So this is the magic loop or the adjustable loop or adjustable ring, and now we are going to work 6 single crochet into this loop. Now for this particular project using this yarn, I prefer to use the method where we yarn under and then yarn over, and that's how we'll work all of these stitches. So to yarn under, I am going to put my hook over the yarn so that the yarn is under the hook, pull that loop up back through the loop. Now I've got 2 loops on my hook, but this time I'm going to put the yarn over the hook and pull it through both loops. I'll demonstrate that one more time for you. So insert your hook into the magic ring, yarn under, pull that through. We have 2 loops, yarn over, pull it through both loops. So now we've got 2 single crochet. Now before we get too far, I am going to use my stitch marker to mark that very first stitch. It's so much easier to find if you go ahead and mark it as you've begun. So let's work the remaining 6, or the remaining 4. So there's 3, 4, 6. Okay, now here's our magic loop with all the 6 single crochet in it. I am going to pull this tail here and tighten this loop until it's as tight as I can manage. We don't want any holes or gaps. That's what keeps the stuffing inside. So there is our 6 single crochet on a magic ring. Now I'm going to remove this stitch marker. Now we do need 2 single crochet in every stitch around. That is called an increase. So in every stitch, this should be up on your screen, we are going to increase 6 times, which means that we are doing 2 single crochet in every stitch. So we should end up with 12 when we're done. So there's the first one. I'm going back into the same loop, yarning under, yarning over, and pulling through. Okay, so we'll do 2 into this next stitch. Insert your hook into the stitch, yarn under, pull it back through, yarn over, pull through. And now we have 1, 2, 3, so we need 1 more stitch into that same stitch that we just worked into. So insert your hook, yarn under, pull it through, yarn over, pull it through too. All right, and we're gonna continue working. We should have 4 more stitches around of increases. So when we're done, we'll have a total of 12. Increase. Okay, now we have 12 single crochet all the way around. So this time on our next round, we are still increasing by 6 again. So we will do a single crochet in one and an increase in the next, so where we have 18 when we're done. So I'll work the first couple of these with you. Single crochet in the first one, and let's put our stitch marker back so that we know where to begin and end. And we're going to increase just like we did before in the next stitch. So 1 increase. Okay, so we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next stitch and 2 in the one after that. 1 increase. Okay, and we will do that all the way around. And we will meet you back up once we're done with this round. Okay, so we have our first 3 rounds, and you can count that by counting the inner circles. We never count the braid on the end. It just doesn't work that way. So my method for counting rounds is counting just the worked part of the stitch. So we have 1, 2, 3 rounds so far. So on round 4, we are just doing 1 single crochet in every single crochet around. So we should have 18 when we're done. There's our first one, and then 17 more. So there's 2, 3, 4, 16, 17. All right, there is 18. So this is the first top that we have. So I am going to pull out the loop just a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect. I'm leaving enough of a tail so that I can do an invisible finish stitch, and I will demonstrate that for you. So we'll go ahead and pull out our loop. I'm going to thread this into the needle, and then this invisible finish is worked by skipping the next stitch that we would have worked into and putting my needle in from front to back, pulling it tight. Now what makes this invisible is that we're essentially creating this finished stitch just like we're replacing the one beneath it. So our goal is to get our loops on both sides about the same length as the one beneath it. So now that we've got that kind of where we want it, I am then going to reinsert my needle into the finished stitch, or the last finished actual crochet stitch. And I'm going to do that from the center into the back of the fabric. And again, we are adjusting. Sorry, that got all twisted on me. 1 second. Okay, so now that that's adjusted, we are going to insert the hook from in the center of the V to the back, and then we will tighten that to where it's about the same as what it would be if it were just a normal stitch. And now you almost can't even tell that it's there. Now we do need to secure this, so I'm going to flip my fabric inside out, and I am going to grab a couple of loops of yarn and weave this in, making sure to not over tighten it because we don't want to distort the way that that looked. And you do need to get a couple of different stitches in here to kind of help lock this in place appropriately. We don't want this coming undone in a couple of months. So I just pick up a few loops here and there, and then once we've got that all secured, we're going to turn our work back inside properly to where, you know, the inside is inside, and we're going to set this piece aside. All right, so for our second heart top, I'm actually going to leave a little bit more length on the tail. I'm doing that on purpose because when we go to connect the two heart tops, there is a little bit of a gap in between the two, and I'm going to use this as some sewing yarn to close that gap later. So we are working this just like we did the first one. We are literally doing the exact same thing, except when we get done with this one, we are not going to cut it off. So I'm going to work this, this heart top off camera, and then I will meet you back up when we are ready to connect the two. If you need more help and you want to go back and rewatch the first heart top being made, please feel free to go back and do that. And I will meet you back up when we're ready to continue with our heart. Okay, so here is the second heart top. Here's the first. So now what we are going to do is we are going to single crochet 9 halfway around this heart top. Before we, there's 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and there's 9. So here's where we're going to connect to the other heart top. Pick any stitch you want. They should all work just fine for you, but you're going to work a single crochet stitch into any one of these single crochet stitches that you'd like, and we'll do that just by inserting your hook, yarning under like we've been doing, pull it back through, yarn over and pull through 2. So now we're connected, and we're going to work all the way around this heart, and then I'll show you how to reconnect on the other side. And this should be 18 single crochet around this half of the heart before we reconnect back on the other side to get to the other heart top. Now I will tell you that it really does help to count so that you aren't accidentally going into either of the previously connected single crochets that we've already worked. We are definitely not going into them for this particular pattern. So make sure that when you go from this side that we're working here over to here, that we skip this previously worked stitch. If you don't, you're going to end up with an incorrect stitch count. And we're just going to connect it just like we've been doing, or just like we did the previous side. We'll just insert our hook onto the other side of the heart, and then we'll continue around until we get back to our stitch marker, which should be 9 more stitches. Well, 9 including the one that we reconnected with. So in total, for this round of our heart, we now have 36 single crochet all the way around. Okay, now that was round 5. So for round 6, we're just gonna, for round 6 and 7, we are just doing single crochet all the way around. We should have 36 single crochet on both rounds. So I'm gonna go ahead and work that off camera, and I will meet back up with you when we are ready for round 8. Reminder, don't forget your stitch markers. I am so bad about that. Okay, so I have worked rounds 6 and 7, and we're gonna take a break here, and we're gonna fix this gap that ends up happening in between the two connected heart tops. So you'll see that it just happens whenever you work your rounds this way when you're connecting something, and that's okay. It's a very easy fix. What we are going to do, we're going to flip our work inside out really quick. We're going to grab this little extra long tail that we left on the second heart top. We're going to thread it through our tapestry needle. Now I am going to pick up just a couple of stitches just to like keep this out of the way, or from like getting tangled up when we turn it back inside right. And that way it kind of like tacks it in place and we don't have to worry about it as we are stuffing our heart later. So there's 4 stitches that we used in total from both sides to connect. And so I am going to do a crisscross. I'm going to go down on one side and come up on the other for this side. And then I will cross over, go down, and then back up to cross on the other. And just make sure that we pull everything nice and tight. If you aren't 100% positive, like if you pull it and you still see a gap, just go ahead and do one more loop where you see the hole at, and go ahead and tighten it. All right, there we go. I'm pretty happy with that, but now we do need to secure this tail so that it locks everything in place. And I'm just going to go back up onto the same side of the heart that this tail came from, and then I'm going to pick up several loops to just weave it in to where it's nice and secure. The saying goes, if you've gone 3 different directions on your sewing in of your crochet, essentially that really does lock it in and you should be good to go. So we'll just turn our work back to the proper inside right way and we will continue. All right, so we are going to start doing our decreases now with round 8. And for this round, and it should be up on screen, we are going to do 4 single crochet and a decrease 6 times. And that will take us from 36 single crochet to 30. You'll notice that in total, in between the 4 single crochet and the 2 decreases, we have 6 stitches, which happens to be 6 happens to be a multiple of 36, which is very convenient for us to decrease by that amount. So if you were curious about the math that goes into your decreases on rounds like this, that is what it is. So let's get going here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to demonstrate how I do my decreases for you. This is considered an invisible decrease. So I'm going to only grab the first loop of the first stitch, the outside loop that's closest to you. And then on the second side, I am only going to grab the inner loop that's on the second stitch. And then I'm going to treat it just like any other regular single crochet. I will yarn under, pull that through, and then I will yarn over and pull that through too. Now I will caution you, make sure that you're not trying to pick up the second stitch by mistake. That is definitely something that can happen because you aren't working the first loop of that one. So just make sure that we're going into both loops on the next single crochet that's actually open and underworked. So I'm going to repeat that 5 more times all the way around, and I will meet you back up. All right, that is it for round 8. So round 9 is just working a single crochet in every single crochet around. So we need to single crochet 30, and that will bring us back to our stitch marker. All right, so we've got 30 single crochet on round 9. Round 10 is another decreasing row, and we are going to be working 3 single crochet and a decrease 6 times. And we will do the same kind of decreases just like we did on round 8. So we'll do 3 single crochet, work that invisible decrease, and we'll continue that all the way around. All right, this is the last decrease for this round. And so for the next round, we are just going to be working 24 single crochet into the 24 single crochet that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and work up round 11, and then we will meet you back up when we're ready for round 12. Okay, so that was round 11. And then round 12, we are going to do 2 single crochet and a decrease this time. And we will also be working that 6 times all the way around to get us back to our stitch marker. And I'll meet you back up then. All right. These are getting faster and faster, guys. All right, so let's work. We now have 18 single crochet around. We're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch until we're back around to our stitch marker. And I will meet you back up when we're done. All right, so that is round 13. It's really looking like a heart now. But we need to go ahead and stuff it while we've still got a decent sized opening down here at the bottom. And we really want to pay attention as we're stuffing to making sure that we're packing into each of the heart tops first before we just start stuffing stuff in. So be intentional, go from one side, and then you can grab some more and then really get that other side well stuffed. It's no fun if the tips of the heart go flat on you, you know? Kind of takes away from your heart. All right. And I'm gonna go ahead and just get this last bit of stuffing in here. You don't really want to stuff the main body of the heart too much at this point, because the stuffing really can get annoying and get in the way as you're finishing off your heart. Not that we have too much more to go, but we want it to not be too frustrating to finish. And I will give you an advance warning. The tighter this goes so that we can close it, the harder it kind of is to manipulate. Just be patient with yourself and work consistently. And as you're working these next few rounds, what I actually do is I stick my finger in and push the stuffing down, so where when I go to put my hook into the next spot, I know that I'm not picking up that fiber fill. And that way it just makes it a little bit less stressful to manage. So our next round is also a decreasing round. We're going to be working 1 single crochet and then a decrease. Go ahead and put my stitch marker back in here. And it really is just the same. The only difference is you may need to kind of help push the stuffing out of the way to keep it from getting pulled into too many of your stitches. So if you guys do have too much problem with that, you could always take some of your stuffing back out. Not all of it, but you know, just enough near the opening here that it gets out of your way. Okay, well, I will meet you back up once we get this round done. All right, so our next round, we have 12 single crochet, so we're gonna work 12 single crochet around. So that's 1 single crochet in every stitch. And again, you really might need to keep your finger kind of just keeping everything situated where it needs to be. And don't forget your stitch marker to put that back in. All right, I will meet you up once we are done with the end of round 15. And then we'll only have one more round to go. All right. So that's it for the end of round 15. Now, like I said, we've only got one more round to go, so I am going to stuff as much in here into this heart as I can to get it to be nice and solid, particularly down here at the tip. You'd be surprised on how much you can actually get in there. I always am. And all that big stuffing looks like it's gonna fill a whole lot of things, and then you actually start putting it into your amigurumi and it just all disappears. It gets so compact. If you notice at this point that you have any like bubbles anywhere in your heart, you may just want to kind of squish and move stuff around. I have definitely been known to take my sewing needle and kind of help spread the stuffing out just a little bit, just to make it all even. That's really what you're looking for. It doesn't need to be like packed super tight, but you want it to be squishy in the same amount all the way around. So, all right, so our very last round of crochet, we are doing 6 decreases, which should leave us with 6 single crochet left. Which we are just going to sew up and weave in our ends. So I won't be using my stitch marker for this one. I'm just going to count out the 6 decreases, and we can go from there. All right, 1, 5, last one, here is 6. Okay, so here is our heart. And I am going to disconnect my yarn with a few inches remaining so that I can weave in everything and secure the bottom of this. So we're just gonna thread our needle. Now, how I like to finish mine up is I am going to grab the outside loop of every stitch around and pull tight as I go. So I should be pulling up 6 loops. 3, 4, 5. This one's already kind of tight, so we should be all right. And then I am going to insert my hook underneath a few strands, just like we did on the inside. But I'm going to be a lot more careful about going around the same loop that we wove into all the way around at least one more time, just to kind of doubly secure the end of it. And then I'm going to not go too far with weaving in the actual tail, and I'm going to try to do it in such a way that it's not very noticeable. I don't want long strands of yarn on the outside of my heart. I didn't mind it on the inside because nobody will see it and it's not very visible, or it's not visible at all, so it doesn't hurt anything. But on the outside, I want to be a little bit more careful and just make sure that my weaving in of my tail isn't impacting the look of my stitches. So now that I've got this pretty well woven in, I'm just gonna insert my hook inside down here at the bottom and pull it out up here at the top. And that'll kind of give this tail, I'm gonna cut that as tight to the heart as I can get it so it disappears in there. That way it just leaves a little bit of you know, extra length where it can't at all just come loose down here because it was such a tight cut. But there you go. There is your beginner level amigurumi heart. I hope that you enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun for me to make. And hey, let's spread the love out there, okay? If you guys do have any questions, or if I went too fast anywhere, or you know, you have any suggestions for tutorials that might help you in the future, please don't hesitate to leave me a comment down below. My goal with doing all of my tutorials and my vlogging is to just share with everybody and help anybody that kind of vibes with me. So if that's you, thanks so much for being here, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.